So this one's called Our Democracy. So I'm going to make some general points about democracy, but before that I'll just explain what's happened in Finland in the last week or two. So we've had an election for the president of Finland. Now Finland's a constitutional republic, so basically the main decision-making power lies with the Prime Minister. And at the moment, the Prime Minister of Finland is this guy called Petteri Orpo. And he belongs to this party called Kokoomus, which is like the Finnish equivalent of the Conservative Party, like completely corrupt. Anyway, they didn't get enough votes to win, so they're in coalition government with this other party called Perussuomalaiset, which basically translates to Basic Finns. BBC will say that they're far right, but you know they just support normal things like the family and free markets, and they're sort of mildly anti-EU. So anyway, this guy Petteri Orpo, who's Prime Minister, his background, can you guess? Yep, he's part of the club. So the elections that we had on Sunday was the first round of not the Prime Minister, but the President. And the President of Finland is like a figurehead. So he represents Finland abroad. Notionally is in charge of the armed forces, or he delegates that, but he appoints people basically. But the main thing he does is or she does is goes around the world and basically represents Finland. So it has quite an important foreign policy role. So the results of this presidential election are in, and there was a 75% turnout of voters. So 25% of people who were eligible to vote didn't even bother voting. The person who got the most votes was this guy called Alexander Stubb. He also is from this party, Kokoomus. In the past, he was Finland's Prime Minister, but he got removed fairly quickly because he got basically called out for corruption. One thing that I'll say is that Finland is still probably about 35 years behind the UK and America in terms of corruption. So here, at medium and grassroots level, there's actually very little tolerance for corruption, and corrupt people get found out and removed from power. But anyway, this guy, Alexander Stubb, he's also a member, guess what, of the big club. So 27.2% of the people that actually voted. So, you know, you're actually talking about like just over 20%, only 20% of the people who were eligible to vote bothered to vote for this Alexander Stubb. He's very divisive. He's sort of seen as like, I think he was kind of trained up almost as Finland's Tony Blair, but he's very, very, very he was very pro NATO, and he divides Finns. I think there's a lot of Finns who are extremely worried about him from a warmongering perspective. Anyway, he got the most votes, but not quite enough votes to win in the first round. So it's going to be a second round. Anyway, the person who polled the next highest was this guy called Pekka Haavisto, and he's a Green. So can you guess what as well? He's also a member of the big club. So if he ever became president, he certainly wouldn't stop any Finnish Prime Minister from pursuing net zero stuff. Same as Alexander Stubb wouldn't stop any Finnish Prime Minister who wanted to start a war with Russia. So, you know, you've basically got two people who are, wow, it's like deciding whether you want to die of cancer or die of a heart attack. It's like both of these guys are just so toxic.
Let's get out and vote. Let's make our voices heard. We've been given the right to choose between a douche and a turd. democracy in action. Put your freedom to the test. A big fat turd or a stupid douche. Which do you like best?
In third place, there was a guy called Jussi Halla-aho. So he's represents this True Finns party, Perussuomalaiset, and he got 19%. And then the next highest was a guy called Olli Rehn, who got 15.3%. He's the former. He was in the European Commission. I'm not sure if he was head of it, but major Eurocrat. So what we've got then is that even if you take the two top people, what you can say is that Stubb got 27%, Harvard still got 26%. So basically, you're talking about at least 47% of the population didn't vote for either of these guys. But the way that the Finnish presidential election system works is that these top two now go through for a second round of voting. So
We've been given the right to choose between a douche and a turd.
because I think other countries have this type of system too. I think France does, but there it's the president actually has the decision-making power, and this is one of the stunts that they play to try to rig democracy in their favour. Obviously in Britain you're going to be faced with World Economic Forum Rishi at the next general election, or Keir Starmer, who's Trilateral Commission.
We've been given the right to choose between a douche and a turd.
So again, it's not much of a choice, is it? This is the point of this video, how democracy is completely rigged. Plus there's the other point as well, is that just because the majority of people are in favour of something, it doesn't make it morally right. And this was one of the reasons why countries like America and Finland were founded with a constitution, and that constitution was supposed to guarantee limits to the power of government that were designed to protect basic human rights. Obviously what's happened is that the scumbag politicians have managed to pass emergency laws to circumnavigate constitutional protection. Guess what I'm saying is that I don't think democracy is working very well, because I guess the other thing to say as well, in countries like Britain, it's impossible for a new party to emerge, I've come to believe, because as soon as something would become established, I know Remainers won't get past this, but just think about a party like UKIP. I think originally it was genuine, but the powers that shouldn't be didn't like it. So what did they do? They just took it over and corrupted it. So I don't think we'll ever get any meaningful change through democracy. So then straight away, the normie will say, oh, you're in favour of violent revolution then. How about no? How about it's you that's in favour of violence, not me? You're the one that basically says that governments are, democratically elected governments are allowed to do whatever they want, including abusing our human rights, like what happened during Divic 91. So my solution, I think, at the moment, as we stand in January 2024, I've just come to the conclusion that what we should do is just not partake in this crooked system. So to try to get the voter turnout in elections down as low as possible. And I think if we were to get it below 20%, and if you think about it, in UK local elections, I think it's already been like around 30% already. So it shouldn't take that much to get the voter turnout down to such a low level that it couldn't really be argued that these governments have got any moral legitimacy. And basically what we do is that we call a strike on them. We withdraw our labour. We don't pay into their system by choosing to have leisure time rather than working. We don't vote for World Economic Forum candidate A or World Economic Forum candidate B. We just don't take part in it. Remember too that these guys are Satanists who believe in natural law. So they know that they're only allowed to do bad things to us if we consent to those things. So the classic example was the Britney Spears. And what we must not do is vote in their crooked systems and lend legitimacy to it. In the past, some people in the comments have said, oh, what about spoiling your vote? You know, like writing World Economic Forum next to each candidate. The problem with that is that I think spoiled votes might be included in the voter turnout figures. Other people have said, don't deregister yourself from the electoral register. I'm not a fan of that either, for just reasons of simple maths, in that the voter turnout is calculated as a percentage. So it's the number of people that voted divided by the number of people on the electoral roll multiplied by 100. So we don't want to reduce the figure on the bottom line, the denominator in that case, because it's gonna pull up the voter turnout. So what we want to do is like register to vote, but not vote at all. And that's the way to get the voter turnout percentage down. And that's what we need to do to signal to them that we haven't consented to their government. They haven't offered us a choice that we are happy to vote for. There's nothing for us to vote for. We're signalling to them that the system that they've created is completely rotten and corrupt. And we're telling them that we know that and we're not participating in it anymore. So that's all I want to say today. So God bless.